coach, and I recently just went through my own football season here, we need to remember that as we look at our athletes, we need to be able to encourage them versus discourage them. And that's all about the emotional feelings that they're having both in practice, in competition, and we'll say it even for life. I want you to think about people that might be around your life. How many of you can think of a person who has maybe been very discouraging at work or possibly in the community? Okay, now I don't want to dwell on that part, but I do want to dwell, now flip that around and think of a person who's been very encouraging in your life. Someone's been very encouraging in maybe recent week, the last month. How many of you can think of someone who's done that for you? Great. I see Coach Rubin is there. Can you maybe share maybe an idea or someone that has been very encouraging with you in the last maybe week or last month?
Yeah, I've been working in the PCA Portland chapter quite a bit the last couple of weeks, and I've gotten a lot of encouragement from our executive director there, Ben Dudley.
Great. And what has he actually said to encourage you?
What did he say?
What did he say or do?
He said that, you know, that my presence here and that my work with the trainers in training in Portland and the workshop that I've delivered have really given a boost to his chapter.
That's awesome. And even more importantly, even as you just shared with us, the rest of the coaches, I noticed how you smiled as you talked about what he told you, right? Mm-hmm. Rest of the coaches in the room, how many of you kind of feel that way sometimes? In your life, maybe in some aspects? Well, just think, Coach Rubin just shared with us in a brief 15 seconds how he felt encouraged. And I noticed also around the room some of you were kind of nodding your heads, and you could kind of feel that energy coming out of Coach Rubin just by his smile. Well, again, that goes back to the emotional E-Tank. And again, what we need to do as coaches is be able to give them what they need to be at the best level of competition and success. So again, when you discourage your athletes emotionally, it makes them more pessimistic versus optimistic. When you discourage them during practice or competitions, they're willing to give up instead of have hope. And another aspect that we probably don't want on our teams is that when you discourage them, it really causes them to be defeated. And I know each one of us would have a little different feeling. So I'm sure we would want athletes to be optimistic, hopeful, and undefeated. How many of you would agree with that? We all do. Let me just share with you something that I've learned through my coaching experiences in football and rugby and the other sports. I've realized that when an athlete gives all they can, when an athlete feels supported as much as they can, they will never be defeated. They may not be victorious. The scoreboard may not go their favor. But as long as we encourage our young people to strive to do their best, to strive for excellence, and that we're the ones filling their emotional tank, they will never be defeated, not only in their competition, in their sports, but hopefully as it gains through life. So what does that really mean? How can you as a coach fill their emotional tank? Well, we're going to give you a couple suggestions. And I'd like to kind of just paraphrase it again. You'll see this information in your book on page 31. But there's these aspects that we're supposed to really look at. We're supposed to give them praise. That's the first step. The next one is basically show them appreciation. And most importantly, we all want to be able to listen. And that's probably one of the hardest skills sometimes as a coach, especially during moments of excitement and last-minute seconds. But I kind of want to rephrase this in the sense that, Coach Kelly, describe to me a good friend of yours.
I have a good friend named Becky, and she's always willing to do whatever I call her to. If I call her at the last minute to go for a walk or help me out or pick up something at the grocery store or help me with one of my kids, she always says yes. So she'll figure out a way to do it to help me out.
Perfect. Figure out a way to help you out. So again, you can call her a friend, or would you be willing to call her a pal as well, which actually means a comrade or someone to support you?
Absolutely.
Good. So coaches, if you just heard from Coach Kelly, I would like us to strive to be pals. What that means is, in order for you to fill your emotional tank with your athletes, you need to give them praise. You need to give them appreciation. And you need to be great listeners. And those are the three main factors about filling their emotional tank that you'll see within the book. I just use that acronym because everyone wants a pal. Everyone wants a friend. Everyone wants someone they can count on, as Coach Kelly talked about. The other aspect is the nonverbals. And those are incredibly important because we know that sometimes our actions or our faces show more than our words. So that's an overview of praise, appreciation, and listening to your athletes to fill their emotional tank. And then also nonverbals. What I'd like to do right now, if you don't mind, is I'd like to kind of give us an example of what that really means. Coach Rubin, I'm a football player, and I just fumbled the ball. I'd like you to give me a reaction that maybe is not so encouraging, maybe not so positive. And you realize that not only did I fumble the ball, but now it possibly costs us the game. What is a negative example that you'd probably maybe see in some other aspect?
You can't make that mistake. It's going to cost us the game. Have a seat.
Sometimes, coaches, we sometimes react that way, or we see others react that way. Well, obviously, as your player and as an athlete, I'm suddenly now very discouraged. I've lost hope, and I've now been defeated. Instead, in the Positive Coaching Alliance, we're trying to change that. And we know that there's already many examples here. For example, Coach Rubin, I want you to do the same. I just fumbled the ball. But you know you need to fill my emotional tank, because if you don't, you might even lose me mentally for the rest of the game. Give us a great example of what you would do to fill that emotional tank. Again, using the PAL method: praise, appreciation, and then maybe a little to listen.
I like the way you're running aggressively. Keep it up. What can you do to take better care of the ball?
Well, thanks, Coach. I didn't mean to. It just kind of happened. I know that I'm supposed to have the high 4 points of the ball, and I know that I'll be able to do it better next time. So in that quick scenario, we can see that we can either drain the tank or we can fill the tank. Now, the other aspect of this is this nonverbals. Coach Kelly, you've probably seen a lot of maybe negative nonverbals when someone's just missed the shot, missed the play, things like that. Maybe with a little bit of acting, could you give us maybe your best nonverbals of I just dropped the ball or I just missed the shot? Now again, you don't need to yell at me, you don't need to scream at me for me to see your reaction. What's interesting though is that let's think about that in the bigger context. Not only do you see that, but who else sees that besides your players? Coach Kelly?
The fans and the parents.
Right. And to be honest, if I'm your opposing team, I'm going to see it too.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think I feel watching you react that way? I'm the opposing coach. A mistake has just happened on your team. I now get the ball or I've won possession. How do you think that makes me feel as the opposing coach?
Probably pretty good.
I'm feeling really good.
Your tank is full.
My tank is full because I've just watched you lose control or drain their tank without me doing anything. How do you think that's going to affect my players?
It's going to make them play better.
It is. They're going to see that not only has the athlete been deflated, but also the coach is now deflated. He can't function. He's focusing more on the mistake versus the future. One of the other aspects I'll share too is that mistakes happen all the time. I don't think we'll ever have a perfect game. But what you need to remember is this, is that part of filling the emotional tank is being able to focus on the now versus the past. Many of my athletes, especially my wrestlers and my football players, I always remind them, now, now, now. Control it. You control now. You can't control the past. But I can control the now by giving you positive reinforcement. And that is an aspect, again, of filling the tank. And I'll conclude there.
All right. Thank you, Tex.
Thank you.
I love it. I say this sometimes. Sometimes I'm sitting here jotting down things like to give you some praise and some help, and other times I'm just totally stealing your ideas. So I wrote down a couple of phrases that I love that you said. I thought it was very well done.
In education, we never steal. We just borrow.
Exactly. Give credit where credit is due, only when caught, right?
Right.
All right. Ruben, would you like to start out saying some things you liked about what Tex did?
I liked how conversational it was,
Mm-hmm.
and constantly interactive. Lots of questions for your participants. Kept us all involved throughout consistently, and I like the fact that you smile as you're working with us. You smile consistently and often. Liked all those things.
Mm-hmm. I love that you started out with the flat ball example. I haven't seen that done. I think that was really a great way to give an example. My dog just popped my soccer ball, and I'm looking at it in the yard out there going, I could do that today. I have a workshop today. I could bring in my flat soccer ball. I think that was really great. I was a little bit concerned in the beginning that you weren't kind of following the slides, but I have the slides right here next to me, and you were following each step of the way. I think your voice was very clear, and you can tell that you're experienced in sharing, and teaching. You can tell it's very evident that you're confident in what you're doing, and you're very well thought out. I thought it was great. I thought the PAL was really cool. PCA's got acronyms all over the place, but I think that's a simple one that people can understand, the praise and appreciate. And I like how you came through the back door to get us to figure that out. Would you like a PAL? Yeah, I'd like a PAL too. I thought that was great. I also loved that I had never, I know it in my heart, but I never really thought about the fact that nonverbals fill the other team's tank. I think that's a really important point to bring up to coaches. That's sort of an aha moment, like, wow, I'm going to make them play better if I do some tank draining on my side. I think that's a big takeaway for coaches, and I think that was a really great one.
I think, just to throw that in, especially being a wrestling coach, my wrestlers have learned now that when they start seeing the other coach yelling at their athlete, they know that that's when we compete. That's when we get aggressive, and that's when we attack. Because what's happening is the coach is so focused on the mistakes, the athlete is now thinking about, my coach is yelling at me. And in wrestling, there's only one voice that's being heard, and it's the coach, loud and clear. And suddenly there is a spotlight on that coach of all the negative things he's saying. And again, when my wrestlers see that, they already know that they're started to win the battle already. And that's one of the reasons why I always keep myself in check, because I know, or I think the same thing, is that if they see me at all deflating or draining my tank of my athlete, they're going to be jumping on that as fast as you can. And again, we're such a close contact. Wrestling is one of those things, I'm literally 8 feet away from the competition. And those voices are heard loud and clear, whether positive or negative. So that's kind of one of the advantages I think I've seen over wrestling, is that it gives you that advantage point that like you said, a lot of coaches don't think about. Yeah, I just realized me draining the tank is giving them filling their tank.
Yeah, I like that. And of course, I'm thinking of it too through the example of the athletes, because a lot of the questions we have in the athlete workshops are when other teams are trying to drain the tanks. Other teams are heckling you or bad-mouthing you or talking bad, and I think that's a great way to flip it around and say, why are they doing that? If you show no reaction, if you show that it has no effect on you, it's not draining your tank. So I think that was a very good point to bring up. I like that.
Thanks.
Ruben, do you have some suggestions or some wishes for Tex, something you'd like to see?
I have one small suggestion, and then one question or idea that I'm thinking about. Emotional E-Tank. You use that phrase several times, and at PCA we call it the emotional tank, or the E-Tank.
Okay.
But not the emotional E-Tank. Okay, small thing. So you'll work with that. I like the PAL acronym. I like it because I do think it will help us remember. I was wondering, do I want to be my player's pal? I'm not sure. Not sure. I want them to know that I support them. I want them to know that I am their coach and their mentor, and that I'm behind them 100%, that I'm going to hold them accountable for our team culture. I'm not sure that I want them to view me as their pal, and I'm not sure you said that either. You said, do you all want to have a pal?
Right.
So anyway, I just and then of course, Tex, that part of our recipe for great workshops is to address the role of winning and point out that PCA is not anti-competition, that we're not against winning, that we're not soft. And so, as far as being a pal, I just wonder if that could be interpreted by some coaches as soft, and there goes PCA, let's roast marshmallows, let's all be friends. So that would be. I'm just thinking about that and wondering about that. That's all.
Yeah. So you're definitely right. I would, and as a coach myself, a pal is not what I want to be to my athletes, and that's why I said I tried to make the connection that a pal is someone or a friend is someone you can connect with and support. And Kelly used example. I would never encourage the coaches to use that as saying, do you want to be the pal of your athletes? It was more just of an acronym and remembering that, and you can, it is a very fine line, because I understand as a coach, I want respect. And, the hard line is this, and this is a very great factor. It's like, I don't want to be your friend, I just want results. And, part of an athlete is being able, you're not going to be everyone's friend, and when you do, you may lose that level of respect. You may lose that level where, my coach is my pal, and he's my friend, and he'll understand. And it's like, well, no, you need to be held accountable. And so I definitely see that. And I was trying to make that, I didn't call the coaches pals, I wouldn't encourage them, but I think you're definitely right, that even the word pal, and I don't know, again, it depends on the audience. If they're new athlete or new coaches, they may not see that as much. We're like, are you saying I'm supposed to be a pal or I'm not supposed to be a pal? I think you're, like you said, those of us who are more veterans, it's like, are you telling me to be a pal to my athletes? Because that's not really what I need to see if I want to do this. So it is kind of a slippery slope there. I was just trying to think of an acronym for them to remember, and actually for myself, in the sense of this aspect of, being truthful, showing praise, showing appreciation, being a good listener, and
it helps me remember for sure. Already it's helping me remember.
I'll remember for the rest of my life as a coach that, hey, am I giving praise? Am I appreciation? Am I good listen? But again, you're right. There could be that mixed message. I think I could alternate it, again, to really finish up to saying, again, all this is for you to remember. You can remember however you want. But yeah, you're right. There is that little area.
And maybe it's as simple as taking 30 seconds to explain that this is it's an acronym. It's a memory aid. It's not. I'm not here to tell you that you're trying to create an atmosphere where you're, buddy with your players.
Right.
It could be that simple.
Although, what I was thinking about it in terms of as a whole coach, you're right. You can't be your player's pal all the time. But if you have a player on your team that has a drained tank, that's what they need. They need a pal. They don't need you to be the coach that's going to be giving them more feedback. So maybe if it was put into the context of, as coaches, we can't be their pal all the time. You've got roles you need to do. You've got things you need to do that aren't necessarily what a pal or your buddy would do for you at a certain time. However, if you have a player that has a drained emotional tank, maybe that. I'm just thinking of a way to phrase it, because I do like it. I think it's a good mnemonic to help remember it. I won't forget it. So I think that's good. Tex, the only feedback I would give to you, and because I didn't see the PowerPoint really going through there in the beginning, I love I told you I love the flat ball, but connecting that to the idea of filling tank and draining tank, you didn't really say those terms until we got almost towards the end. Right. So I would definitely use the flat ball, but I would fill it into compare it to we do use this idea of a tank. Because it's not saying, deflated or inflated. I like how you use discouraged or encouraged, but also throw in filled tank and drained tank in with the encouraged, discouraged, so that the terminology can get in there too.
Right. And just to clarify, I kind of just did this for you to see my conversational side.
Yeah.
I would definitely. I think the PowerPoint that shows the E-Tank, being empty or full. I mean, that's a great visual. And there's no way that I would do this without that visual because, again, we know in education, it's, I can do this ball thing and that's good, but they need more than that. And again, to have that icon or that image in front of them while I'm talking, it's kind of one of those things that I definitely would have kept it and would have referenced to it. I was, again, kind of just going off my own to see other things I talked about, how that would work. But by all means, you're definitely right. There would have been that connection if I had the PowerPoint.
But I love the fact that you didn't say, which car would you rather be driving? Emotional. I mean, because that's something, it's on the slide, we get the visual, but, I just think the way that you presented it was clever. It was very creative, and it's got the same point across. I would just, caution you to figure out how to work in what you just did with the slides a little bit more. But I thought it was great. And just pace-wise.
Kelly, I want to say something. I'm fine with Tex not saying, which car would you rather be driving?
Right.
I say it in every workshop. So take a look at these. Which car would you rather be driving? And they all say full, and I say why? And they say because you can go somewhere. And I spend 10 seconds on it, and it's not a big deal. And then I quickly say, well, yeah, our E-Tanks are like that. I have never had a negative reaction to the visual or asking people which car they'd rather drive. Now, if you spend 10 minutes talking about which car would you rather drive, and no, that's but the PowerPoint and the trainer script directs the trainer to spend 15 seconds on that slide.
Yeah, I agree.
So I do not discourage people from asking the question, and I'm also okay with people not asking the question. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So so the only other part of it that you would have had time to finish is the magic ratio part.
Right.
So and I think you would have been able to get through that. I'm not concerned about pace at all. I thought it was well done. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yep. All right. Well,
Kelly, are there any other hangouts this morning?
No, not this morning. There's some tonight.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Thank you, Tex.
Yes.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you again, and appreciate your feedback. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what the future brings. It's been great to be a part of this process, and I guess we've almost got a couple weeks left, and then we'll see what things go from there.
Yes, and next time you'll have more time. So next time it won't be as. We just wanted to give you a little taste of it now without overwhelming you. But
well, and again, I appreciate it. Just part of me was like I was hoping to watch a couple of the people ahead of me, but again, it's one of those things that just go up there and do your best and see what the world brings. Exactly, absolutely. Well, we appreciated you. That was great. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll be in touch next week, I guess. Okay, and I did. I can send you the link to this, so you can watch if you'd like to see our feedback. But I of course, again, forgot to start recording until the first couple minutes were up. So I missed the football inflation, and then I hit play. So I apologize for not recording the first. Well, if you use the inflation and if you use the PAL thing in your next workshops, let me know how it goes. Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm going today. I'm doing a workshop for an all-boys school. There's 120 high school boys. And when I called the partner yesterday to ask about some of his biggest concerns, he said it's an inner city, and he said that the kids cannot keep their mouths shut when they're heckled by the other team. They just can't. So I've been trying to, come up with a clever way. We talk about the value of filling tanks, the value of not going down to their level to rise above. But I think, concrete, if high school boys hear flat out, you're filling their tanks if you react. I think that's so cut and dry and simple. And again, it's something we all know, but just to be able to articulate it like that, I think that's it. You're filling their tanks if you react. Do you want them to do that? They're going to play better if they know they're getting a rise out of you. I remember like my mom telling me, don't get a rise, don't react when your brother teases you. It's the same idea. But I like that a lot. I thought that was really good. Thanks. So, and especially coaches should resonate with that really well. You love to watch a coach blow their top. You love to do that. I had a quick question going back to the E-Tank piece. I get the kind of the meter thing, but what would it make? I guess I'm asking, would I have permission that as part of a PowerPoint that maybe I show an athlete who's discouraged and distraught and is just, just down. And then right next to it is the athlete that's, this is maybe even use the same picture of an athlete. Here's after they've been drained, and here's after they've been filled.
Yeah.
Because, watching an athlete like, I got it, or, I'm wondering if I'd be allowed to be able to do a picture like that, because as a coach, I get the whole meter thing, but you should be an athlete that I can resonate a picture, or even a team where their heads are down like they just lost, or the team that's, again, not victory all the time, but you can just see they're walking with confidence. I might be able to resonate with that a little bit better, and would I permit you to do that?
Absolutely. I actually have a slide that I have in there that has Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore is the tank drain, and Winnie the Pooh and it's a silly example, but think about who would you rather have on your team? A team full of Eeyore, who are always down in the dumps and drained, or Winnie the Pooh, who has the best outlook on life. Everything's great. Everything's wonderful. Yes, whatever you say, Christopher Robin, I'll do it. And, Eric Eisendrath gave me that example years ago, and I've used it with high school athletes and coaches, and, it's a quick visual. That's who you want. But, yeah, you can interchange pictures. We actually are starting to put together a library of pictures and videos and things like that you can customize the workshops. But absolutely, you can. The only issue is if it's like a famous athlete and the picture was taken by ESPN, we have to give them credit. You just have to have ESPN down in the corner.
Right.
But if it's just a Google search image, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I'd even, from being here in Minnesota, I'd even maybe, our parents are taking pictures all the time of our athletes.
Yeah.
I would actually just take a couple pictures of those. I mean, go through our library, they have Dropbox.
Yep.
And then talk to the athlete and say, would you mind if I put this in a PowerPoint and just kind of.
And sometimes what I'll do too is I'll pull pictures off of the school's website. Like I'm going to the school this afternoon. I went on their website and I pulled off some pictures so that when we talk about honoring the team, I'm going to have a picture of their team and their team mascot on my PowerPoint, just to make it a little bit more personal connection. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep. Absolutely. It's funny because most of the pictures in the PowerPoint for Positive Coaching Alliance are trainers' kids. And I didn't even realize it until a couple years ago. We went out to California for the big trainer conference, and one of the trainers, Ray Lokar, was up there, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's my daughter in the basketball one, and that's my son in the football one." And they're pictures that trainers have submitted of their own kids or their own players.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yep.
Well, you have a great morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and again, I appreciate being able to be a part of this with PCA. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Well, we enjoy having you in there too. Thanks, Tex. Have a great day.
Sure. Hey, one more question. If I wanted to